Agile. If you are in the software industry, you must have heard this term over and over again. It's true that Agile has helped us to work with changing requirements and introduced adaptivity. However, have you ever thought to yourself if Agile is the ultimate approach to project management? Hello everyone, I am Sujan and we will be exploring how it is possible to blend both planning and adaptivity using hybrid project management in this session. Let's first explore how Agile came into existence. Long before Agile was formally introduced to the world, people were already familiar with the practices that Agile later formalized. The plan to check act approach to project quality was in existence back in 1930s, whereas there is evidence of iterative and incremental software development from the 1960s. Later, in February 2001, a group of 17 software engineers met at a resort in Utah to produce the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. The Agile methodology gained popularity in the early 2000s, and by 2015, Agile adoption surpassed 50% and took the software development industry by storm. As more companies started adopting Agile, it shifted from a set of shared values and principles to an empty, overused word that has been misapplied to almost anything that an organization does. After such extreme hype for over 2 decades, we are at a point in time where Agile has reached its plateau of productivity. Instead of the expected exponential increase in returns on investment, companies have started getting small increments of productivity. The downfall of Agile began around 2015 when one of the founders of Agile, Dave Thomas, gave his presentation titled "Agile is Dead." Researchers started conducting different studies on the possible reasons for the downfall. According to the 15th annual State of Agile survey conducted in 2021, the most significant reasons for failure of Agile projects include inconsistent processes and practices across teams, organizational culture at odds with Agile values, general organization resistance to change, lack of skills experience with Agile methods, not enough leadership participation, inadequate management support and sponsorship, and insufficient training and education. With all the problems identified in Agile, does it still have a future? Actually, yes. Although there are some problems with the current implementation of Agile, there are a number of trends that seem evident in the future of Agile. It includes hybrid project management, scaled Agile, and enterprise-level Agile transformations. Today, we will be discussing hybrid project management. Let's start with its definition. Hybrid project management is the process of combining one formal project management methodology with another. Typically, it takes flexibility and adaptivity of Agile and combines it with more traditional rigid approach of Waterfall project management. Waterfall project management is great for well-defined and strictly known outcome projects, but it lacks interaction among phases and the fixed requirement provides less room for creativity. On the other hand, Agile project management works great for projects that have high risk of changing requirements. However, it requires team to have strong communication and collaboration skills, and everything needs to be time boxed. Combining the two, we can use waterfall approach for planning, including high-level deadlines, deliverables, and contracts with customers. Then, Agile execution cycles can be introduced to create a prioritized work backlog, to execute and monitor the work items, and to produce measurable outcomes at the end of each sprint. There are 4 possible scenarios in which Agile and structured systems may be combined: Agile within gating, Agile before gating, Agile after gating, and Agile alongside gating. The example that we just discussed earlier combines Agile and Waterfall project management as Agile after gating. There is sequential dependency in which the early stages of innovation, including requirement gathering and analysis, are performed using the firm's established process of waterfall model. Then, Agile methods play a more prominent role in development, testing, validation, commercialization, and deployment of the product. Agile before gating is just the opposite. Companies rely on innovation sprints and close iterations with customers to arrive quickly at a promising new product concepts, and then they follow the traditional structured process for subsequent development. Sportswear manufacturers like Adidas rely on Agile ideation in the early phases of innovation. They leverage this benefit of sprints, limited resource requirements, and immediate customer feedback. Afterward, they employ a well-established gating process to enable successful worldwide marketing, manufacturing, and launch. With Agile within gating, firms iteratively combine structured and Agile process with several rounds of interaction between the two. With Agile within gating, the outcome of structured system becomes a starting point for Agile process, and the Agile results get developed further into additional structured process. This process leads to reciprocal interdependencies, because the result of one process are the input for the other process, and vice versa in multiple rounds. Companies like General Electric and Lego use Agile within gating to enhance customer centricity and reduce the time to market of innovations relative to the traditional systems. Finally, Agile alongside gating relies on structured and Agile innovation processes that operate relatively independently of one another, indicating pooled interdependencies, because the structured and Agile process contribute separately to a firm's innovation outcomes. The company organizes some innovation activities with structured process and others with Agile process. The results are then pooled at an organization level. For instance, companies may develop the next generation of complex machinery using traditional process, but use Agile process to develop a software app for the Internet of Things solutions. Although the combination of Agile and gating systems might look pretty straightforward at this point, you might find it difficult to identify the approach at the company that has implemented. So do not get discouraged and collect more information to identify the approach. Every methodology comes with its pros and cons. By implementing hybrid project management, a company will realize the advantages such as agreement on the deliverables from customers and developers at an early stage in the development lifecycle, effortless tracking of progress due to the knowledge of entire scope of work, proper documentation of all primary requirements of the project, and preparation of test documents while coding takes place simultaneously. While it appears that the cons of hybrid project management methodology are less than the pros, they are still very important and certainly something that should be taken into consideration when working out if hybrid is the way forward for your project. You need to consider that hybrid project management requires more in-depth planning to ensure all the bases are covered. It also requires additional support to communicate status updates to other stakeholders, and it requires continuous administrative intervention to resolve team conflicts. Now that you have understood the pros and cons of hybrid project management, you might be considering implement it in your next project. But before you do so, consider the following questions. Is it possible to define high-level project phases and their goals? Can you choose the way you work freely? Do you have people who are well experienced in Agile? And can you agree with project requester that only high-level plan will be present and detailed work will not be included in the contract? And finally, is the rest of the team experienced with Agile ways of working? If you answered yes to all of the 5 questions, then you have the potential to run your projects the hybrid way and enjoy the benefit of hybrid project management. If not, then you should perform necessary actions to make majority of these points a yes before starting the first project. Having knowledge is not enough, especially when combining methodologies. You need well-seasoned people who will steer the process and project both on bright and dark days. Hybrid approach to project management can provide Pareto improvements if done properly. Due to its potential, the adoption of hybrid approaches is increasing by the day. The first Agile practice guide from Project Management Institute discussed various hybrid life cycles, and the latest Association of Project Management body of knowledge includes a section on hybrid life cycles. Hybrid methodologies become more relevant as the number of projects using these practices increases. In summary, quantitative and qualitative research and standard bodies are predicting that hybrid approaches are prevalent and a natural choice for project managers. The conditions that lead to the adoption of hybrid approaches are unlikely to disappear. We expect them to be a significant, if not the dominant way, projects will be conducted in the foreseeable future. So keep an eye out for the projects around you. Maybe hybrid project management will be adopted there soon, or better yet, it might already be in use without you noticing it. Thank you for staying till the end of this video. I hope you learned something new today. We will be back with more of such informational content. Stay tuned.